Sure. I called to order the Village of Oxford Downtown Development Authority meeting Monday, April 20th, 7 p.m. We're online via Zoom. Obviously, we won't pay our respects to the flag today.
All right.
So, can I get roll call?
That would be appropriate.
I will call roll. Ellsworth.
I'm here.
Johnston.
Here.
Scholes.
Here.
Olds.
Here.
Charles.
Here.
Frost.
Here.
Rolando. Absent. Wilcock.
Here.
And Herfy.
Here.
We have 8 present. Also present are Village Manager Joe Medore, Village Communications Liaison, and we have 1 member of the public. Moving forward, back to Madam.
Glenn, do we need a motion to excuse Mrs. Medore? Excuse me, Rolando, sorry.
Yes, we can accept the motion to excuse.
So moved.
What would the basis be for that?
Well, because in the bylaws, there is a, it does say that, you know, so many unexcused absences could be, a member could be removed.
I mean, do we know why she's not present?
I don't
No, I'm not heard from
any of it, but I, you know, given the circumstances, I think it warrants an excused absence.
Agree.
We would need a vote, a support and then a vote.
I'll support.
Okay, it's been moved, supported, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Real quick, one thing, never mind. Do we, Joe Medore, just a thumbs up, thumbs down, do we need to do a roll call vote if we can see everybody?
It was strongly suggested in the governor's executive order. It wasn't a mandate.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay. So we'll move along to any public comment on non-agenda items. And we'll move along to the consent agenda. We have an approval of proposed agenda. We want to just do them all together, the approval of the regular meeting minutes and the reports.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items number A, B, and C, including 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved, supported, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Do we need roll call because of the bills?
Yes.
Next item.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
next item.
Okay, and I have any opposed? Okay, and then now we'll move on to the payment of the bills, April 2020.
Glenn, I didn't see that document.
No, I don't
Separate email?
have, I do not have bills ready at this time because I have not been in the office for checking the mail. The only invoices I'm aware of right now that are sitting waiting to be paid are for police and DPW. If you would wish to table this item, or you can instruct staff to pay the bills as they arrive with a report to follow of all prepaid bills at the next meeting.
How does everyone want to move forward with that?
Well, I had a question on that. By doing that, then that means obviously there's a phone bill and stuff like that that keeps coming in, correct?
We do have bills that are prepaid through the village that are reflected on the bill run
Okay.
every month,
All right.
and those are paid automatically. It's just the ones where we cut a live check or a live transaction
Okay.
that are reported. If you remember your bill runs, the top chunk is
Right.
what needs to be a live check. There's the prepaid by the village, and then there's the village credit card.
Okay.
So at this point, the only bills that I have access to, because I can't get into the BSNA software remotely, which is a good thing. The only bills that I know of at this time are for police and DPW.
Well, if those are the only bills, then I think we can go ahead.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, agree.
So we'd need a motion,
Okay.
a second, and then a roll call vote.
How do you want the motion worded? Do you want it worded as like, how do you want it worded? All these simple bills on the bill run that we can't see are to be approved to be paid?
Definitely sounds like a government, doesn't it?
This is one of those issues with remote. I'm going to have to work something out with Terry so that she can save it as an Excel spreadsheet and shoot it over to me. Because again, not being able to access BSNA is both a good thing and a bad thing.
Glenn, when would you be able to get to the office?
10 days.
Does
So the-
Joe Madore have access to that?
He's on the meeting. He can answer.
Yeah,
I was trying to unmute. It took me a second.
yeah.
Yes, we have access to the BSA general ledger, which I believe is where all your bills are, correct, Glenn?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I don't know how comfortable I feel just like shooting out a vote here. I don't know. I don't think that's real professional, but that's just my opinion.
Glenn and Joe, what happened with the bills for last month, given the cancellation of the regular meeting for March?
regular ongoing bills
We're
just have to
paid.
get paid.
What I would be looking for at this point is a motion to pay the invoices for the police department and the Department of Public Works.
If those are the only two that we have right now, I would almost say that we postpone them and run them all into next month, and then before next month, be able to get a copy of all them out to us so we can see them, and then be able to approve them all at the same time.
We can do
So Joe
that.
Madore, is that possible for you to get in there and email them to us?
Yes,
But we could potentially get them this week then, right?
I think so.
So I think what Pete said, that makes sense, doesn't it?
The only ones I'd be concerned about are things like the phone bill,
Right.
something like that, that have due dates and then penalties for paying late.
Are those on auto pay though, Joe?
Some are. I believe the phone
I
is
think,
auto ACH.
yeah, I think the auto bills can go ahead and be paid. That's automatic, it goes through. But then I would say the rest of them, hold until the next meeting and just, get it to us ahead of time and we can see them then.
I'd have to double check on the due date for anything on the credit card.
Right, same thing on that.
Okay, so we're going to put this aside then?
Yep.
Okay, and then we'll,
We still need some sort of action to put it aside.
I'll make that motion.
We have to take some sort of action, don't we?
Yeah, I think we should, as Joe Frost just said, we need to take some official action about not paying them right now.
okay, so do you want to vote on that or,
Yes.
okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to set the April bills aside pending additional documentation.
And I'll support that.
Okay, it's been moved, supported. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I was an aye, by the way. I didn't get the mute off.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, and then we'll move on to the unfinished old business, the introduction of new board members.
I'm going to stop sharing for a moment so we can all see each other. The purpose of this agenda item was to allow our new board members to introduce themselves to the other members of the board and the public at large, because I'm not sure that everybody knows everybody. But Laura, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is Laura Herfey. I work for Thrivent Financial. I live and work right here in downtown. Many of you have passed through where my office is located, right on M50 or M24. As you all know, I'm new to the DDA. I'm new to the Oxford area. I've been here about almost 2 years. I enjoy it. Just on the team, trying to help you guys out in any which way. I'm just kind of tuning in right now and hearing your thoughts. I do things a little differently as a financial advisor, and since I manage wealth, of course, when it comes to making payment on things, I'm all for paying in advance, as Glenn and Joe both know, and then maybe putting notes in for minutes for next conference call, but that's just myself. You always want to be a step ahead versus being a step behind. And that's my thought process with everything. But hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Over to you, Justin.
Oh, my turn? Hi, I'm Justin. I've been a resident here. My family moved here back in 2016. I'm the moderator at Emmanuel Congregational United Church. I've been working with Glenn on the DBA promotion team for the last year. I'm looking forward to working with you guys and getting downtown through this chaos.
Thank you.
I apologize for my connection being slow. My coworkers are streaming a movie in the other room. M24 update. Let me pull this up. Oh, you dropped. There we go. All right. So you can see we have a meeting this Wednesday. It's a pre-construction meeting with all of the local governments involved. That's when we'll find out when exactly everything is going to start happening. This afternoon, I've received 4 notifications for review on special provisions within the grant. So we're working through that as well. That just hit today. We'll be having a task force next Monday virtually, and then we'll be doing a virtual town hall on the 27th as well. I've been assured by MDOT that the project is on schedule and that they will be finishing it up this fall. And they're still sticking to the phasing that has been put in place of working on the Drainer Road intersection and doing the skip paving on the detour route. And then once they move to the second phase of the Drainer intersection, they will then close northbound traffic and run it through the detour route for the remainder of the construction season.
We did receive some cones on 24 down here today.
I heard 2 messages that Consumers was back out working on this project today. I haven't yet to verify that.
They
Yes,
were. They definitely were.
They showed up, and it's working mainly from East Street North. They're still doing the service hookups to the businesses. That's what they're doing today on both sides of the road.
All I want to add to that is what they did say was it was about a week's worth of work when they did return. So hopefully that is all.
Mm-hmm.
And Glenn, in reference to this meeting on the 22nd, when you find out the schedule, could you send all of us an email immediately letting us know, please?
Yes. I expect several of the village staff to be at that meeting since it's virtual. And we'll be putting together not only information for council and the DDA, but to do a general press release as well.
What time? Well, maybe you can put a link in for the entire DDA board then, for those who want to listen.
I can send that out after I talk to Travis tomorrow, but that shouldn't be an issue.
The only, Glenn, Rod, the only issue I see is that we just got to be careful we don't have a majority. That's still a violation of Open Meetings Act.
Well, fine. I think if that's the case, but I just want to make sure we all know as soon as we can what's going on, because there's rumors going back and forth and whatever. So if we get a quick email the next day, that would work too.
I think we should be able to get something out even the same day because I don't have it on the calendar on my phone, but I think it's noon.
It's from 10 a.m. to noon, I believe.
Oh, there you go. I have it on my calendar at work. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm good with that.
Any other questions about that? We're just sitting here. We don't know until Wednesday. It was supposed to be last Wednesday, and it got pushed off. All right, next on the agenda is election of secretary. With Elgin's departure, we are left without a secretary on the DDA board. The duties are largely acknowledging the minutes and signing the minutes.
Wait a minute, I see election of secretary as 8A on our agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at some point we need to go back to number 4, executive director and committee reports, but let's just go ahead with 8A for the time being.
All right. Before we move on, I just want to, you were asking about which, Rod?
Those were approved as part of the consent agenda.
That was, 5 was done as an entire consent agenda.
Correct.
All right, election of a secretary. They are officer terms. They run from September to September. You are allowed to serve 2 years as an officer before you have to unserve as an officer for a year. Do we have nominations or volunteers?
Exactly.
Well, I guess the secretary, I mean, one of these, are you doing anything as far as,
Our current officers are Nicole as president, Dorothy, or chair, Dorothy is vice chair. Sue Oles is currently serving as a treasurer.
okay. I couldn't remember. I
Great
will
way for
then
Justin to get involved here.
jump right in.
So can I nominate Justin?
The secretary?
Yes, sir. We can
I'm trying to think visually if I can do that or not, because I don't want to mess up anything or miss.
At this point, the duties of secretary consist of signing the minutes, and when we compile the entire year together, making sure that staff puts it on the appropriate reports to Treasury.
Oh, I can do that. Yeah. Sorry.
And generally during the meeting, when it comes time for a vote, for a voice vote, then he calls the roll for that.
Okay. I do roll call and stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go, Justin.
All right.
I would
I'll
need a
second
motion.
that nomination.
All right.
We tell them about the paychecks yet?
Sure.
I'll leave that to Glenn.
We have a motion and a second. We would need a vote, Madam Chair.
Okay. A roll call or just a vote?
Just a
Okay.
voice vote at this point.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. Justin, you're the man.
All right.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item would be our business assistance update. All right. I have spent far too much time recently working on the Oakland County grants. All right. What we've basically been doing for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, has been trying to get information into the hands of business owners with regards to the Oakland County stabilization grants, with regards to the Small Business Development Center and Small Business Administration grant programs, which basically fall under the CARES Act, which is the payroll protection program and the economic disaster loans. By the way, both of those last two programs are now out of money, but there should be support funding agreement for that later tonight, I'm told. As far as Oakland County grant money, we'll be getting $31,100 from the grant to distribute amongst the applicants in Oxford and Oxford Township. We had quite a number of applicants, and as far as I know, the scoring should be completed tonight, and they'll start notifying in a day or so if it continues to form. In
Hey,
other
Glenn?
business, yes.
Your sheet here says 30,000. What dollar amount did you just give? 31,000?
31,100 as of 3 o'clock this afternoon.
And that's to the DDA, and then another $2,500 the township was able to get?
No, what we're looking at is between the township and the village, we're getting $31,100 of grant money directed into the community. And originally it was looking at $2,500 grants. That amount is being changed in terms of what the grant awards actually are. But as of 5 o'clock this afternoon, we were looking at 15 grants for the Oxford community.
Okay, so that's money that you were able to get in your efforts, you specifically?
No, that's through the Oakland County. I serve on the District 2 committee. The county split the county up into 12 districts and has a representative from every municipality on that committee for each district. So
Okay.
there were over 7,000 applications to the county for that grant money of $2.3 million.
And how would that money be applied in the village and the township?
There's a scoring mechanism on the grants, and we are basically trying to figure out what our task has been at the committee level and the county level has been to determine what the grant amount is per business and how many businesses we can allocate to under our funding. You know, we could have sent $65 to every applicant countywide, but that wouldn't have done anybody any good. So
when would this process be complete?
the scoring and decisioning, which should be done by midnight tonight, and the county will start doing notifications hopefully Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning.
How do they do that? Do they put it on their website? And if so, what can we look at?
They will be contacting the applicants directly.
Email or phone?
I do not know at this point. I'm not in that section of it. The folks higher up the pay scale at Oakland County are determining how that gets done.
So we have no way of knowing who gets what?
We'll have a record of who gets what.
How will we have that record? I'm hearing you say we don't know.
Well, we don't know how they're going to be notified. There will be a listing of all of the businesses that got awards.
And where will that listing be?
I am unable to answer you at that time, but I can, from my notes in the committee process.
Glenn, how do they determine if a business is eligible or not?
Well, there was the eligibility clarification, and basically it was either you're on a commercial corridor or in a downtown. That was the first screening characteristic.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were 6 other scoring factors applied based on application data. And so that resulted in a score between 1 and 100. And then they're awarding grants, and the committees are deciding on how much and how many businesses. So.
Okay.
I mean, based on the number of applicants we had in the Oxford community, you know, it would have been a couple $100 to every applicant if we'd just given them to everybody who applied. So,
Mm-hmm.
How many did we have?
we had, gonna make me look at my notes. Between Oxford and Oxford Township, we had 158 applications.
Oh.
I was surprised that I read that number. I was surprised that there were so many.
Well, yes. We also had a bunch that weren't actually in Oxford that we had to screen out of the district.
Okay.
So,
Sue, where'd you see that number?
Didn't Glenn, I thought, sent it out. Didn't you, Glenn? I read that someplace. Maybe it was an Oakland County media, but I read the number and I was surprised by the number. It was higher than I thought.
It's in the second paragraph of what's on the screen, the last sentence. We had over 120 businesses apply.
Well, this says 158, what Glenn just mentioned.
yes.
Okay.
We had over 120 from just Oxford.
Sure.
Mhm.
So,
In the Oxford Village.
yes, the village proper. Our next step is going to get people to reapply for the CARES funding. There's U.S. Chamber funding that we're going to be sharing out information on. There is I have a staff member trying to climb into my lap, so.
Care funding, and what was the other one?
U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Facebook is doing quite a lot of grants for those who use Facebook business posts and pages to help transact their business. Google's doing some. I have a whole listing of them that we'll be putting out the information on as soon as we get it.
Okay.
A lot of it hasn't opened up for applications yet. So as soon as we get the information, we share it out.
Okay.
The National Main Street Center also has a very good page on COVID funding, and they have good resources that we're sharing out. And the other thing is right now is there are Oakland County Main Street is trying to work with the legislature to pass some amendments to, or temporary measures to allow DDAs to directly assist in some manner. We're prevented from doing that under our current enabling legislation, so that
Glenn, do you know how Royal Oak, downtown Royal Oak, was able to commit $2 million? They're operating under the same enabling legislation we are. So
yes.
What's their secret recipe?
The update is they committed the funding, but they have no idea on how they're doing it yet. Right now, under the enabling legislation, all we're able to do is historic preservation or promotions.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Joe, thanks for bringing that up. I saw that same thing about Royal Oak come up with $2 million, and I didn't realize that they just made up the number, basically, is what I'm hearing Glenn say. Not made up the number, but created some artificial way of coming up with some funding.
So I don't think it's artificial. Their normal operating is $6.5 million. So I think they've reallocated funds.
They allocated monies from a recent real estate sale to a nebulous fund of this assistance pool, and you have yet to define what that assistance pool is actually going to be.
So they already had the money, okay.
They had the money, and then they said, we're going to dedicate it to this. As soon as we figure out how we can do it and what we're doing, we'll let you know. So it was a nice splash, but they don't have anything in place yet. Any other questions or discussion?
I feel like we need to get on top of some of the stuff with, and maybe in our committee meetings with how we're going to change maybe some of the events or, things that we have planned to kind of help the businesses a little bit more. I mean, this is going to be really tough going from this into construction. And so, I guess I'm stating the obvious, but this is, it's a pretty scary time for everybody. And I definitely think that we need to have a presence in this.
Agree. Joe Frost, is that you and I? We started that committee.
Yeah, that's that could be. Yeah, I've got some comments later on in member comments that I want to address. I think committees need to be working at least remotely at this point, and we need to start strategizing. There's those who want to open tomorrow, and we know that if that happens, there's going to be a significant spike in those who are infected. And the reality is that this may be a little bit longer than the May deadline. That's what I think. And as soon as people start traveling for better weather, you're going to see spikes all over the state. There was an article today or yesterday about Grand Rapids has started to see a significant increase in their number of cases and fatalities. I think we should be optimistic, and we should be looking at a series of soft reopenings, if you will. Everybody's gut reaction is let's hold a big festival, let's get everybody back together. But the reality is that that's exactly the opposite of what we should be doing in response to a pandemic or a post-pandemic situation. So, you know, there was data from the National Main Street Center. They surveyed communities across the country and here in Michigan. There are 200 responses here in Michigan. And 70% of those businesses that responded currently have no mechanism for on-sales. So one way to strategize and to work with our businesses is to help businesses flip that switch from a storefront presence to a digital presence. You know, most have social media already, but their sales are not necessarily coming from an online capacity. So that's just one idea off the cuff here. But yes, to answer your question, Sue, I think the Economic Vitality Committee needs to meet and needs to meet soon.
Okay,
No,
okay, I'm on board.
Yeah, I agree with what Joe just said there. I personally feel uncomfortable with these people that want to push the door open too quickly. I realize that the governor said end of the month, but at best I can see a slow opening. I don't want to rush through this thing. I don't want to see it spread any further than it has spread. So, Joe, I'm totally on board with what you just expressed, okay?
Didn't the governor say today that she is looking at a middle of May?
I didn't see that, so I don't know.
I don't know, but the point being is that, you know, we have to adjust some of the things that we had planned. I mean, concerts in the park, we have to say, we really want to get those people together and then be responsible for somebody getting sick. So that's an immediate example for all of us to look at. I mean, the Tulip Festival was canceled, the Cherry Festival was canceled, and those are pretty big for those communities there. And it's not good to say that we're going to cancel those, but at this point, as Joe said, we need to ease into things and maybe be a little bit fast on our feet this time, and let's plan ahead and not say to people we're going to do the same things we've done in the past.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the things that I'd like to see us do, which is small, it's to some degree superficial, and I mentioned it soon, I talked about it briefly, is maybe something when we get the road project started, can we just go put like school color balloons in town, golden blue balloons, you know, through the town? I personally volunteer to go put those up myself, and something like that would be relatively inexpensive, easy to do, and not encourage. It would encourage a different look to the downtown without encouraging people to congregate. I don't know, but what are some of your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a good idea, Rod. You know, and not only that, but you know, I think many of our residents look to the village, right or wrong, you know, whatever, for leadership and inspiration sometimes. So, you know, maybe what we can do, especially on the promotion side, is sort of celebrate where we're at, you know. And I like the idea of the school colors in downtown, and you know, maybe it's a tribute, downtown's tribute to, you know, the 2020 class, you know.
Absolutely. By the way, their event was canceled tonight, by the way. They were all going to go around Wildcat Stadium, and that was canceled at the suggestion of the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. So those kids have been kind of cheated in a way, but what are you going to do?
I think we can also get residents involved, especially if it's something as simple as blue and gold balloons or decorating their windows or something to show, you know, their pride in Oxford. I mean, it may, people are sitting home anyway, it might just give them something to do. And as far as everything opening up slowly, it's going to have to anyway. The health department's not going to just let everybody open back up.
Yeah.
Places that have been closed for over 48 hours that are fixed food establishments are going to have to go through review with the health department, and there's going to be really no leeway on that because of foodborne illness and the way that their kitchens were shut down. And, you know, nobody's been in there for a long period of time. So, you know, I do know that it will be, you know, a process, you know, for the businesses that have closed.
So going back to something on that, could we, I mean, if we ordered some balloons, as silly as that sounds, or as trite as it might sound, is that something should we vote on that and get the ball rolling by the time we order something?
I mean, like a spirit week or something, maybe we can like promote it to the residents downtown. And I mean, if we got everybody involved, you know, there still are some businesses here operating. I mean, we'll obviously help you decorate as much as we can, just so we don't have people down here unnecessarily, but keep them at their house where they can decorate their own yards or their front tree or their porch and be uniform with what we're doing, but stay
It's almost
home.
like a virtual spirit week.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that Nicole last week put out a video that she asked me to help with, and kudos to Dorothy for assisting with the photography. Oxford Strong is the hashtag that the village used on that. It was more from the village side of things. I mean, it's applicable to both. You know, this morning when I looked, that video had over 15,000 views.
It was shared 230 times, Joe.
Exactly. It was shared 230 times. That's incredible. So, you know, people I think are hungry for inspiration, and they're hungry for positive reinforcement, if you will. So, idea, Nicole, of a spirit week, if we can do that virtually, you know, people still put out the stuff, you know, in pictures. They're sharing those pictures using, you know, hashtag downtown Oxford, hashtag Oxford Strong, or whatever the case may be, you know, and get the businesses on board too. You know, there are businesses that, although they are closed, they're still doing, one that comes to mind is Caveman and Pip. They have been doing a live Facebook stream once a day to talk about you know, what's going on and the new things in their shop and so forth. So
Modern Marketplace did one too, Joe. Modern Marketplace.
Okay. So
Another
working with the
business.
businesses to do digital stuff like that, I think, is important as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a multi.
So let's make it happen. Let's do it.
Yeah, we are also doing Facebook Lives.
Okay, but my point is, we all agree.
Yeah, awesome.
Let's get this going. Let's get the Spirit Week going. I think we've talked about it enough. Let's take action.
Sure.
The only thing, just a quick thing on the balloons, not to be concerned about environmentally safe, but all of a sudden the balloons start taking off all over the place. It's kind of a hazard for the environment. I mean, I'd be more inclined to see ribbons or something as opposed to balloons.
Yep.
Whatever, the point being, we should do something like, I like the idea that phrase that Joe just came up with. I like the idea of calling it Spirit Week, and the theme would be blue and gold. You know, but let's, you know, the great quote is every idea degenerates to work. So let's take action.
Joe and Glenn, do we know when the lamp posts will be removed as part of the M24 project?
We won't know demolition until Wednesday.
Okay. I was thinking, you know, Rod said ribbons, blue and gold ribbons on all the lamp posts would be really cool. But maybe we still do it, you know, and whenever the lamps come out, you know, but we know they're going to.
So do we want to, Glenn, is that something that you should do, or Nicole order ribbons? I mean, I personally be happy to volunteer to go through the town myself and bring a ladder, or what I got to do to put them up. I got my hand raised to help out.
Right. People can even put them on their cars, or, you know, I know that they're doing like a car caravan of birthday parades for the kids in the district. There's quite a big following of, you know, vehicles that decorate themselves for children's birthdays, and they drive, you know, past the kid's house. So it kind of makes their day. Nicole
Edwards, could you, you know, write up some sort of, you know, piece on this and kind of go from there?
Yeah.
Oh, Rod, you mentioned, you know, I don't know if we need an action. You know, I think, Glenn, there's probably money in the budget somewhere under miscellaneous supplies or something that, you know, we don't, I think we don't necessarily need an action to spend, you know, what, the $50 or whatever it's going to take to miscellaneous supplies for this, and then everything else.
And some of the money that was allocated toward concerts of the park is not going to be spent as it is, which, Glenn, that reminds me, what have we done? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't want to get off another tangent. Let's just stay on this here. So let's, as Joe said, let's just get enough ribbons, make certain they're not made in China.
That makes it more difficult, but I can get moving on something in terms of ribbons for the trees and the lampposts before they come out.
We'll make it more difficult. Michigan-made ribbons. No.
There you go.
You might want to reach out to Danielle at the Boosters. They have a lot of that kind of stuff.
China.
The Boosters Club does that.
Do we pick a week? What week we're going to do this? In May or next week, or?
I think as soon as possible.
Can we get them this week?
We should advertise and get people out there too. So maybe do 2 weeks
Well,
out.
yeah, Joe just asked me to write something up, and I want to make sure that we're specific on exactly what, we're ordering ribbons. When are we doing it? Why are we doing it?
Right.
Where are we putting them? How can people get involved?
Yep.
Is it for the senior class? Is it just to put a bunch of blue ribbons and gold ribbons around town? Like what specifically is going to happen? And why are we doing that?
Well, I don't think it necessarily just has to be ribbons. I mean, kids could go out and use sidewalk chalk and decorate their sidewalk. Anything like Oxford Pride to show, that we're Oxford strong. Something to that effect, I think. I don't think we need to necessarily concentrate just on ribbons because we don't want them going out to the stores either. So the things that they have at home that they can decorate, their porch or their windows or whatever. I mean, what we do by ordering ribbons, I don't think we have to say that to the public because I don't think a whole lot of people have ribbons laying around their house.
Right, and maybe as simple as, school-age families putting on their Oxford spirit gear and taking a selfie and sharing that on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, with the hashtag Oxford Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know the week before homecoming, my kids do a spirit week, and with one day it's crazy hair day, and one day it's sack day, and Friday is usually wear your Oxford gear or whatever. Are you do you want a legit spirit week where for 5 days straight that's what people are doing, and they?
I mean, maybe if they
Post
can
pictures
share to Oxford or something, what they're dressed up as, maybe they can win a gift card. I mean, we'll donate the gift card for the prize or whatever if you'd like that.
I think that at this point in time, though, it's going to be a little bit hard to do that kind of like a spirit week like the high schools all do. At this point here, I think it'd be kind of difficult to pull off. I'd rather do something well than just kind of have 5 or 6 people show up if we could. I love the spirit idea that Nicole brought up because the schools do it every year. They've done it for 20, 30 years or longer. I just don't know if that's something we can pull off that quickly with the lack of communication going on. Be it balloons or be it ribbons, that's something we can do pretty quickly, I think. In fact, let me just get into the nitty gritty. Who's going to order them?
I will order the
Everybody
ribbons.
should probably have Amazon Prime. If you don't, I can do that for you. Amazon Prime will be here within a week. I don't think it's that difficult. Sorry, I'm not trying to be negative, Nancy, but I'm all about being productive. If you guys really want to do something, do it. Take action. If you really want to give back, I actually like Nicole's idea in regards to maybe doing, promoting a spirit week and then doing different things. Because if I was still in, grade school or whatnot, I think I would still want that experience somehow. And then potentially getting a gift card would be essentially something that'd be fantastic because then not only can you be promoting downtown Oxford, you are also promoting the fact that, look, kids, we still care about you. But that's just my 2 cents. Mm-hmm. It's not that difficult. I do a lot of events on a monthly basis, and I do events that are thousands and thousands of dollars that my assistants and I do real fast. So this is something like Joe said, $50. It's not going to be a big issue, but essentially giving back to the community and doing something like this is going to be positive and reinforcement for everybody, and especially for those kids, that are about to graduate. I think this is super great.
Mm-hmm. But they did decorate the fence outside the football stadium. Kids have gone there at different times and tied their T-shirt to the fence and wrote their name on it, their Oxford shirt, the seniors. So, I mean, they've kind of already got the ball rolling with that, kind of spirit.
So do we have a proposed date for doing this?
I would say that we start the decorating as soon as it comes in.
Timing of ordering those supplies, getting some communications collateral together. Maybe it's Monday. That's the rest. That's a whole week to get prepared, and we take action on Monday, get things going that day. What do you guys think?
We can, as business owners downtown, the ones that are so we can get going on it, right away, kind of get the ball rolling.
So just to be clear, we're just putting blue ribbons downtown, and that's it.
Well, let me back up a little bit, though. Downtown, or do we do the entire DDA district? Because for years, people at other places want to make certain that the DDA is not just downtown. It extends on to that Oxford Marketplace Mall.
Yeah, I think any pole that's within our mile-long DDA district should have ribbons on it.
Sure.
What about trees?
And trees, you know, and then trees in front of people's yards too. I mean, let's try to use our network, you know, on social media to get the word out far and wide.
What if we did the trees and the poles throughout the walking, the sidewalk and stuff, and then we encourage people to take the ribbons off the trees and take them back to their house and put them on their own trees?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. In fact, I'd like the ribbons to be something pretty large, not some little tiny things that are, you know, a 1/4 inch wide or 1/2 inch wide. I like something large that really shows up when people are driving on M24.
I'm a little confused. We started off by trying to get excited about kicking off the whole road project. And then it morphed from there into we're doing something for the kids, for the schools that are, you know, graduate. And then it's morphed that all over the entire community and back and forth. So I'm kind of confused.
I think it's just Oxford pride, you know, trying to get everybody, you know, involved from home to show that we care. I mean, there has to be some sort of presence without being there and being able to get people together. Just a unity. I mean, they have this little thing right now where like you decorate a bear and put it in your window. So when kids are out taking a walk, they'll spot the bear in your window. And that is taken off because it's giving people something to do. I mean,
Yep.
I'm still working, so I don't really know how it is to be stuck in my house all day long. But I mean, there's people that have not left their house once.
Well, Nicole, we all agree on that. Now we're at the point where we actually want to do it. So
Well, right.
let's talk about the practical part of it.
To speak to Pete's comment, he's right. You know, the new business item was, you know, an update for the business assistants. So we have gone down a bit of a rabbit hole. Yeah.
It's more like a rabbit hole, man. It's all over the place.
Well, I have a suggestion.
Let's try to get the promotions committee to meet
There you go.
and get it over promotions and give promotion the ability to sort this all out.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Bingo. Good idea, Joe.
Guys, can I say something real quick? 50 yards, 1.5 inches, gold, beautiful, $10. You'll have it in by Tuesday, April 28th. Amazon Prime, boom.
Blue and
Sexy.
gold.
We've all been Googling on the side to show stuff.
What's that?
So 6 inch wide, 10 yards, navy blue.
I love it.
Nice.
I can have it Friday or Saturday. I just know whose house to ship it to because bringing it here won't do anybody any good.
5-1 Diner.
I was going to say, ship it to me and I'll get it to everybody. Nicole's open, I'm closed.
We're here all day, every day.
Okay.
All right.
So is promotions committee meeting and we're discussing exactly what the plan is? Or are we doing the ribbons? I'm confused still.
I mean, we want to just show like unity and pride in Oxford and that we're here to support them. I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, just about the kids or we are about the businesses. And so we need to show them that we care. So, I mean, I really don't feel like a lot of people feel that we're too involved right now as
Okay.
it is.
So I have another idea. Can I just throw it
No
out?
more ideas.
Yeah. Anyway, I was going to actually reach out to Nicole, the PR gal, and talk with her about it. And it's a spinoff of the video that we've already done, but it's going to be, instead of like those porch portraits people are doing for their families on the front porch, I thought it would be great to show the families in front of their businesses. This is what you're supporting. This is Nicole.
Man, let's do it.
Yeah. And they can hold the sign out, we'll see you soon, or it can be that play on where everybody's got a word and it makes a sentence, you know, whatever that is, but we need to talk and I'll do the photography.
Let's do it. And, you know, Nicole and Dorothy, I'm happy to do the voiceover.
Yeah, I like that touch. That was good.
We can do the same theme music too. That way it all ties in with the other video. I'm just thinking out loud. But again,
So promotions is meeting.
Let's kick it off to get it to a committee.
Okay.
That we can maybe work on the side, you know, but let's kick all these ideas.
Yep.
Let's throw this all over to promotions and move on to really fun subjects like the budget, which is our next item on the agenda.
Want to pop it up on the screen?
You've all had this budget for at least 4 weeks. It's currently balanced, but at some point I will have to sit down with Joe Medor and go through the exact numbers for a lot of our operating expenditures, such as insurance and things like that. Those are numbers that I can't get. I have to get them from Joe, who has to get them from another party. So that'll be something we can haggle out before this budget will go to council.
Glenn and Nicole, if I may, at the last village council meeting, we looked at a draft budget as well. And although we didn't take any action, there was sort of consensus, if you will, that the village general fund budget, especially on the revenue side, should be adjusted to be leaner than what we anticipate. So that'd be my suggestion for this too. I see in the revenue side, last year the amended, operating revenue from the township was 209. We go up just a little bit. Everything kind of bumps up a little bit, which is normal, right? But the last 4 or 5 weeks has not been normal. And so what we can anticipate happening, and some of you were on the board in 2008 when this happened back then in the fallout during that recession. But I think we should not freak out, of course, but we should brace ourselves and we should tighten up this budget so that if stuff does start to downturn and revenues and tax increment revenues are not what they are now, 6 months from now when they start collecting, winter taxes and certainly, into next year, that we're set and we're prepared for that. That's my 2 cents is let's tighten this down.
Well, I'm going to add on to Joe's 2 cents. I totally agree with that, Joe. I'm glad you brought it up. Thank you very much. I was on the board back right after everything fell apart. And that's when I first got on the board, was when it had fallen apart, and basically the DDA at that point was completely defunct for all practical purposes. And no one wants to go back to that point in time. What we need to do is think ahead. Kind of as Laura said a few minutes ago, think forward. So we need to keep an idea on some of these expenses. What are we going to spend and what do we have to cut out? No one likes cutting things out, but that's reality. And I think we all need to go through this thing here. And, I mentioned earlier, little things like concerts in the park. Certain items in here need to be looked at because we don't want to go back to what we saw in 2009. And I'll say this, every economic analysis I look at says this is not going to be a short-term event. This is not going to be something that's going to be over with in June or July or August or September. This is going to go on for a long time. We need to think about lower projections on all these revenues. In fact, not just the village of Oxford or the DDA, but I think the entire state of Michigan, or whatever government unit you want to think about that lives on taxes, they have to deal with this. So let's get in front of this at some point in time.
I've been running revenues on our budgets, and I use a 2% growth on 2 years ago previous budgets. So I'm already budgeting very conservatively on my operating revenues, but I can look to tighten this down based on what I'm getting out of the Department of Treasury as an expectation.
Well, let me ask a quick question on something on here, Glenn. What's the administrative fee on here of $6,600 contracted services I'm looking at about 15 or 16 lines down under revenues. So $6,600 for contracted services admin. What's that?
Contracted services admin. If you notice, that's zeroed out in the upcoming budget.
Okay.
That was contracted services that we had budgeted for this year for communications and administrative support at our meetings.
Okay.
So it's $600 a year to take the minutes and type them up by village staff, and that $6,000 was our DDA contributions to bringing Nicole on board.
Okay.
And so those monies have been moved up to the top under the 704.000 line, 705.000 line of clerical/communications. And you'll see that's a budget of $8,000 there.
I'm looking. What line number are you looking at roughly? Say that again, that was too quick.
Okay, under Department 729 of Organization and Administration, the second line under that, which is 296-729-705, you'll see the line of clerical communications.
Correct.
The wages.
And that is for Nicole and Vicky. The majority of it is for communications.
Well, here again, that's something Nicole, everybody else has to think about. Not saying it's going to happen, but that's going back, 10, 12 years, what happened to the DDA? The DDA director was laid off, and there was no DDA director for quite a long time.
Yes.
I have a question. So will we still have the need for the DPW like we have? Like I see downtown cleaning at 50,000, stuff like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's built into the TIF report. We have to do that legally because of the way our TIF plan is set up.
Joe, I'm confused. We're required to pay into the police and the DPW according to the TIF plan?
Not the police, but definitely the DPW in the TIF plan.
And is there a specific dollar amount that we're required to put in? I mean, we put in $50,000 right now. Potentially,
I believe
that'd be maybe 25,000.
I believe the TIF plan says it's 50,000.
I think we need to check on that because it used to be more than that, and we've reduced it down to 50,000.
Yes. The TIF plan does not specify an amount. It specifies the duties, such as snow removal, street sweeping, maintenance of the parks and parking lots and all of that.
And presumably with the DDA district tore up, the downtown tore up for the better part of, this upcoming fiscal year. I mean, what maintenance really needs to be done except on the backside of it?
Plus, let's face it, we don't have that activity right now, as Nicole's pointing out. We don't have people downtown that much. Everything's closed. So that's, Glenn, I guess the suggestion there is that would be something to look at first because it seems to be glaring.
Keep in mind, this budget starts July 1st, so hopefully the village is open up a little bit by July 1st. This money is for going on towards next year. And I can see definitely reducing it, but for what's going on right now is under the current budget.
What would you think would be a reasonable amount to reduce it then?
I'd drop it at least
15,000 bucks.
Yep.
And be it this budget item or another budget item, here again, the concept that we're discussing is to plan ahead and target certain items that make sense. It could be Constant Park, it could be the DPW, whatever it else. But Glenn, if you kind of take a look at that, that'd be something to talk about. Would that be the org committee?
Probably.
Okay.
That would come back to the org committee. I can talk with Joe Medor about some of this in terms of that. The other thing to keep in mind is we have a line item under the design committee of capital improvements of $100,000. And if things extend on, that we don't necessarily have the money to do, or we end up with a huge revenue hit, there is effectively a large budget item that can be stricken from the budget at any point in time as the capital improvement budget.
And Joe Medora, when would that be communicated to us when we know about the hit?
Well, that's one thing I was going to speak to. You don't rely on sales tax revenue, more so property tax revenue. So it would take a much longer time for you to see a dip, I think, than the sales tax revenue. Sales tax is going to be short term.
Well, I'm thinking about property tax. I'm not thinking sales tax.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You don't live on sales tax. Those that live on some sales tax are going to be a little more concerned in the short term. I don't see this being anything like 2008, 2009, where the whole real estate market nationwide falls apart. Yeah, you may have some dips in the market of real estate, but it takes a while for those. The next year it has to be reassessed. So I would think the tax revenue is a year or two out. I mean, you might even see any kind of a blip in it. And I think at this point, I don't see this being a long term. When you say multi-years of a big crater in the real estate market, I don't think this would be comparable to 2008, 2009. I don't think that your revenues are going to be affected nearly as much as back then.
In that case, Joe, we got some buildings for sale. You should probably purchase right now.
No, I'm just saying the market is strong still.
I mean, if you're going to predict the real estate market, what the heck?
No, 2008, 2009, you know, a lot of it was subprime markets. It was the mortgage. It was driven by the real estate market. So that's, I think, why the real estate market took such a hit then.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see. I don't think that we want to be oblivious to this. We have a lot of empty buildings right now, as we know. So to say that we're not going to take a hit on property taxes, I guess I'd be a strong doubter on that statement.
Well, again, the property taxes you're collecting are always a year behind too. So.
Right, but that's what we're saying, Joe. We're saying let's look ahead. Let's be proactive, not reactive.
Yeah. This budget here covers us for the next 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Glenn, I think the idea that you're hearing from the board here is that we want to make sure that we're not sitting there laying people off if we can help it, and we don't want to be going back to what we saw in 2009. So yes. We can prioritize, we can look at them. And Joe, to make you feel better, Joe Medora, we don't have to take action on it, but at least we want to take the opportunity to look at what we might need to address if that situation warrants.
Correct. Keep in mind that this budget, we're taking off a large bond. We took off a large bond last month. It was its final payment, and we will be out of the construction process. So there's a lot of surplus money that is in this year's budget that wouldn't be in a 21-22 budget. So you'd be looking at a surplus of funds, unallocated funds in the 21-22 budget of about $190,000 in the DDA budget. So keep that in mind as well.
So next time we have an OR committee, could you put something together, Glenn, on what you think the priorities might be if we had to?
Yes.
Okay. Including what Pete mentioned with the DPW, if you would, please.
Joe Medora, this budget has to be in front of council next month?
Council adopts their budget in May, and part of that is the DDA. It says technically the second meeting in May is what the charter says.
Okay, well then we may need to schedule a second meeting in May.
Yes.
Anything else on the budget?
I think as a board, we need to see it one more time before it goes to the council.
I think that's a good idea. I think here again, if Joe can put a list together and then the org committee takes a look at it, we can come back to the next DDA meeting, board meeting, and kick it around at that point.
the recommendations the org committee comes up with, and then, say yea or nay from there as a board before it goes on to council.
We would be looking at having to schedule a special board meeting for that because of the timeline of a second meeting in May, and this is end of April. So we'd have to look at a DDA meeting in 2 to 3 weeks.
I think you could have the regular DDA meeting, just, village council would have a second meeting. So we would still meet as a DDA board May 18th to look at that budget and
Yes.
some org committee, and then council could meet on the 26th, which could be a second meeting.
Hey, Glenn, a quick comment on the concerts in the park. Do we have contracts for the first concerts that somebody needs to be alerted that we might not be able to do these? I would hate to have some band lock up a date and then we tell them we can't do it. I mean, not that it would be surprised, but or they would be surprised, but who's in charge of that? Is that a promotions committee idea?
I have the contracts, and we have dates starting the last week of June. So we're 2 months out from having a concert. And so, yes, we're still sitting on those agreements. But
and do we have to pay those if we cancel them?
at this point, no. If we sign them and then send them out and then cancel it, we pay them half of their booking fee. That's in the contract. So I've been sitting on those until early May.
I would continue to sit on them unless somebody has a logical reason to say otherwise. I mean, I don't care if you're talking about the NBA, pro baseball, or I'm sure Pete, and I know Pete is worried about the Lions. I certainly am. I can see a lot of football games with no stadiums or no fans in the stadium. So having a concert in the park, like I said earlier, we had Traverse City cancel their big event and Holland cancel their big event. So just out of respect to the bands, if nothing else, we need to make sure that we're not going to say that we're going to do this when you can't do it for the logical reasons.
Right. So I will have a prioritized budget with some after I have a discussion with village staff. And so the org committee is scheduled for May 11th, and then the DDA comes back together on the 18th to finally approve the budget. Is that the preference of the board that I'm hearing?
Sounds good.
Sound good.
I put that on task and time frame. Our next agenda item is board member comments.
And who would like to start? Brad?
Well, one item we didn't, and I know we skipped over, we did all the meeting minutes earlier. We skipped over the committee report from the org committee regarding the bonus system we'd set up. I apologize, whoever wanted to bring that up, but the org committee did have a meeting already. We went over a few items. One of them was the bonus system we'd set up some time ago, and that first one was due March 31. I don't know, Nicole, do you want to address that, or Glenn, or do you want me to talk about it, or how do you want to approach that?
Since I am not going into my office and those materials are still in my office with regards to that agreement, I didn't put it on today's agenda because I was not going to be able to get access to that in time for this meeting.
You do have the forms, though? You think you do?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
written paper.
And to bring everyone up to speed, I know Justin and Laura had sent something earlier just to bring you up to speed on that. The idea was to, when the org committee came with the comp system, we wanted to reward Glenn. He'd asked for a 5% pay bump. We thought we could give him a higher pay bump, but we put it on like a, I don't want to call it bonus system, but for lack of a better phrase, that's what it is. The first one was due $500 if he contacted the business owners downtown and verified it. And as I said many, many times, their idea is not that we want to be Mother Hubbard. You know, we don't want to sit there having, you know, in Glenn's office all day and harassing him. But the idea is if someone says, hey, Glenn, you never called me, you know, Glenn can pull out a form and say, you know what, I did talk with you on April 20th. Because I know when I go around downtown, sometimes I'll say, hey, have you done this or seen that? And somebody will say something to me. And I'm thinking, geez, Glenn just told me he talked with that guy. And then that person will say that he doesn't know who Glenn is. So it's a way to help Glenn make more money and head off anybody that says something that's not accurate. Or I guess what we call it in today's world, we call it fake news. Right? So it's to protect Glenn. So that was the concept.
Okay.
So what's, I guess you're saying 10 days from now, Glenn, that you can get those forms over?
Yes.
Okay, and would those go to Nicole, you?
Yeah, the forms.
Correct.
Yes, I have notes also of our meetings that we've had. Obviously, we haven't had a meeting in a few weeks. We probably should start setting something up virtually in that regard. It's been since this whole thing started that we have not met.
Well, we did have an org committee virtual meeting, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We did have a meeting. And
I'm saying Glenn and I have a standing meeting too. And so we need to figure out a time to do that.
Okay. The other thing I want to bring up, I guess in board member comments is, speaking of Glenn, I want to thank you, by the way, for getting that ad going, or Nicole, maybe yourself, in the Oxford Leader, or what's left of it. You know, I know I was sending a few emails. I thought it was important to get something out there besides Facebook, because a lot of people don't like Facebook or use Facebook. So thank you for taking action on that. I appreciate it. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate getting into communication that way too. So thank you again.
You're welcome.
We do have a full page ad in the next print edition, which is coming out in
May 13th.
3 weeks.
Well, we'll
So
get a
we're
lot of
working
attention
on what we're
because
gonna
it's not
put
going to be a lot of pages.
Okay, it's Sue Oles. Do you want to comment next?
Just want to welcome Laura and Justin. Thank you for stepping up, Justin.
Thank you.
Everybody stay healthy.
Thank you. Joe?
You gotta turn your mic on, Joe.
Yeah, gotcha. I've got kids yelling in the background. So good meeting, everybody. Thank you. Welcome to Laura and Justin. I know we'll be seeing Dora Rolando at some point. So welcome aboard to all three of you. I think, and I mentioned this earlier in the meeting, we should get our committees back working digitally via Zoom. Glenn, if you could forward me the economic vitality work plan that kind of predates this next iteration of the committee, so we can merge some of those old tasks with the new tasks. I'll look at some dates, Sue. Who else was on that EV committee? It was me and Sue. There was another member of council, Rod. Okay, we'll get that going. I'll look at some dates over the next week or so. As we talk tonight, you know, my hope is to see promotions committee, you know, get some plans together and start determining some things. Concerts in the park, etc. I think each committee should at least send out to the board when those committees are. We need to be cautious to not have a majority of board members at committee meetings, but anybody on the board should know when committee meetings are happening. You know, so let's just be sharing those. Village Council has been meeting digitally as well. We've had 2 digital meetings so far. We've tried a couple platforms. I think Zoom is actually the best, you know, now trying, you know, 3 different versions. We have relaxed the temporary signage enforcement to allow for temporary signage in the downtowns, not only because of the construction, but because of business closures as well. We have also relaxed some things in the zoning in terms of like commercial vehicles parked in residential areas and so forth that really doesn't apply to the downtown, but maybe something to be aware of. Dorothy, thanks again for volunteering to do the photos for the video. And Nicole, thank you for putting that together. More economic development kind of things. I have been connecting with the parent company of Oxford 7. There has been, some mixed messages coming out of Oxford 7 with their social media. One day they say they're closed, the next day they say they're not. So I said, you know what, I've got, that particular week I had some extra time on my hands. I called their parent company and I've got in touch with the attorney in California who's managing all the assets as part of the bankruptcy. We've been playing phone tag, but my point to him is that the village of Oxford, the downtown Oxford, the community as a whole, prefer to see that as a theater moving forward. So as they start to dispose of their properties as part of a bankruptcy, much larger bankruptcy, has really nothing to do with Oxford. My goal is to somehow do that sold to another theater company. Good news, this is again more on the village side, but Vaughn Hockey, which is over on Glaspie Street, it's their world headquarters. They've got a manufacturing facility here in the village and one in London, Ontario. They were one of the first PPE grant recipients from Oakland County. They've received $50,000. They've been able to bring back much of their staff, and they're currently producing 540 medical gowns each day at the facility. They normally produce hockey gear. This goes back a few weeks ago. I was on a call with Oakland County, and they were saying that they were looking for manufacturers to pivot to PPE production, and I got in touch with Mike Vaughn, helped him connect some of those dots, and so they're doing that as well. In addition to gowns, unfortunately, they're also looking to be making body bags. It's very unfortunate. Somebody's got to do it. They make hockey bags normally. Our village and our businesses here in the village are contributing to the overall effort to this response. So,
Joe, what's the name of that company?
Vaughn Hockey.
Vaughn Hockey.
Street.
Okay.
So, what else was there? I think for each of us, we just need to stay positive, and we need to be wary of misinformations from both sides of the political spectrum. And, keep staying strong, keep staying safe and healthy. And, I think digitally we can still do the things that we need to do as an organization and as a community. So keep up the good work, Glenn. Glenn, I know you've been on phone calls and meetings in regards to the Oakland County grants. And, I know that's a lot of work there. On a personal note, I want to let you folks know I'm no longer with Oakland County for my day job. I have transitioned to a job with the state of Michigan in their Michigan Main Street program. In normal times, that's a remote position, so we'll be staying here in Oxford. So I'll be working with Main Street communities across the state, not just in Oakland County. So that's all I got. I know that's kind of a handful, but thank you, Nicole.
Okay, Pete?
Amazing when we don't sit next to each other. The meeting goes an hour and a half compared to what we normally do. Everybody had a lot to talk about. Just a shout out to all the restaurants in the community that did stay open for carry out business. I mean, it's greatly appreciated, I think, by the entire community. I know businesses, it's really tough doing it, but I think it's meant a lot to the residents to be able to have some place to go get something to eat. So thank you to them, and hopefully we can all come back and support you when they get opened back up again.
Thank you. Dorothy?
Yep, I just want to welcome Justin and Laura. Thanks for stepping up and filling that gap. We appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to working with you, Nicole, on this next project to really show families, of these businesses. I think it's important to show, I think they're core. Yep. See everybody.
Thanks, Dorothy. Justin, do you have any comments?
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to jump in this wild times and help out. And I'm looking forward to learning from you guys. And if I can help out in any communities, let me know, and I'll see what I can do.
Thank you. And Laura?
The only comment I have is I know that when I first came along, which was a few weeks ago, I sent out an email about what we could do to potentially help the restaurants and just the industries that are in our downtown area. I know that we were going to do some sort of like copycat of what Frindale was doing. I personally don't have any social media, so I don't know if we did or didn't do anything with that. And I just wanted to kind of get an update. Have we done anything in regards to helping out our businesses? Besides the loans and besides that, I understand the grants. Obviously, I understand that they would get, what, $164. I understand all that stuff. I know the loans and all that. I'm completely familiar with that. But what exactly is the DDA doing to also help these industries?
Well,
I know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Glenn.
Oh, I was just going to say, we still have our Takeout Tuesday promotions for those restaurants that are still open. We did do a shelter-at-home bingo, and so far there has been almost zero response to that.
Do we know why? Like what? Again, I don't have social media, but do we know how was it or what's going on with that, or what can we do to change that?
We hit it out. It got a lot of views. I don't know exactly how many, but it was a couple thousand views. And then it just stopped. And it was stopped sharing. There was no response. Nobody sent in an entry form or anything. So we tend to see a very low response on any organized event that we try to do on social media. We get a lot of buzz, but we don't get a lot of follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this also in regards to what you guys have done in the past?
The social media contests are relatively new in the past year or so. So our social media presence has doubled in the last 2 years. So.
And do you guys work with anybody else in regards to the downtown district, like Chamber of Commerce or anybody else? So then do you guys link together? I mean, I don't know, but I'm just wondering, I'm just curious if you guys all work together so then everybody else is sharing it and getting involved?
Yes. Yeah, we
when it comes to, sorry, Glenn.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say when, like we put a lot of stuff out there to encourage people to get involved, to respond, to share stuff, to tag themselves and stuff, and there isn't necessarily a lot of engagement. So I don't know if the community's not interested in doing those kinds of things, or but there's certainly the effort's certainly there to get people involved.
Did we get any feedback or comments about it so we know we can learn from?
No, I mean, like, nobody said this is a terrible idea. Nobody said I love this idea. Nobody joined the contest or hashtagged in.
I think we had a pretty good response to the take a picture of your food, the last promotion that you did. It was just too many steps. Yeah, it was too many steps for people. Like, you had to take a picture, then upload it. I mean, that's the response I got, which I didn't think it was too difficult. It was all spelled out on the literature that you had, on the poster, but people had a real hard time with it. I know.
Well, that's good. At least we have some feedback.
Yeah.
So is there anything we can do now? So then now that we know that Nicole said that, can we do anything to potentially make it a little bit more user-friendly?
Well, that's what the promotion committee we discussed earlier in this meeting is going to be doing.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll get that on the agenda with them, and we'll get a meeting in the next couple of days somehow so that we can hammer this all out.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
I do have one more comment.
Sure.
Yesterday was Glenn's birthday. Happy birthday, Glenn!
Happy birthday, Glenn.
Happy birthday, Glenn.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Hope you're feeling better.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, at least I didn't
Now,
get my test results. Go ahead.
I was contacted by my insurance agent, which I use Farm Bureau, and they have a contest kind of promotional thing going on where they will issue $4,000 to a business, and then they will give vouchers out to first responders and medical personnel for them to come get meals from me. But I'm already I will receive the money from the insurance company first. And if I don't get $4,000 in vouchers returned to me, you don't have to give the money back to them. So it's a good way to like kind of help out the community and, you know, get some revenue through our door. So I don't know if any of, you know, the other businesses, insurance companies have this kind of thing going on, but that might be something that we share with them too. I can send you the information, Glenn, so you can look it over and see what you think. That'll help.
Good idea.
And thanks, everybody. And I guess we'll adjourn the meeting now. It's 8:38.
We need a motion to adjourn.
We also have extended public comment at this time, if Sue wants to say anything.
No, thanks. I have too much. You gotta go home.
Hey, Glenn, Joe here.
Yes.
Mike Sowald is also doing some good social media stuff. I don't know if you all are connected to his page at all either, but he gets some good positive things out there, and he's always happy and willing to help on some of his contests with you or the chamber. So it's good to have him out there as well.
Yes, we share.
And the only other thing I'd like to say is, Pete,
Yes.
one of those bottles behind you disappeared through this meeting?
Maybe it's definitely going to.
Okay, well, maybe it's just me.
All right. I make a motion to adjourn.
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Meeting's
Good seeing you
adjourned.
guys.
Bye,
Good
guys.
meeting. Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Hey, everybody.